So fitness tests must be valid, accurate, and reliable. Validity is probably the easy one here. Validity means that the test you are using is designed to test the fitness component you want it to. So I want to test Woolies aerobic power, which possibly is no good, and I choose to use the 1RM bench press to do that. Is that valid or not? And I think most of you will be sitting there going, you're an idiot, Stockers. The 1RM bench press tests strength. It doesn't test aerobic power. Correct. So it's not valid. It's a valid standardized fitness test for strength, but it ain't valid for aerobic power. So does the test what you're intending it to test? If you're using the phosphate recovery test to test for aerobic power, you're barking up the wrong tree. It's not valid. Accuracy is a little bit more difficult to understand, but basically, if a test is accurate, it means you are getting correct results. Now, what do I mean by that? All right. Is the equipment calibrated? Is the equipment actually good enough standard to get correct results? What about the facilities? What about the protocols? What about the tester? All right, because if I get some year 9 kid to set up the Illinois agility test for my year 12 class, they're not very precise, and often they'll put the cones in the wrong spot. And I'll give you an example. When I turned up to matches where Wally and I have taught for a number of years, we're not there anymore, but I use this example all the time. I was flabbergasted at how good kids were at aerobic, how fit they were in aerobic power, because we set up the 20-meter shuttle run test, and the kids would absolutely smash it. Like consistently, these kids were getting over 15, and I'm like, geez, I've been to some really good schools. I've never seen kids get this sort of results, and this happened year in, year out. Anyway, we had to change the course at some point because they'd sanded the surface, and so we remeasured the 20-meter shuttle run. Turns out that for about 5 years, those kids weren't running 20 meters. Some idiot had measured, and it was about 18.6 meters. So any wonder these kids were doing getting such wonderful results on the multi-stage fitness test, because they were only running 18.6 meters. Right? So the results weren't accurate. Same thing can happen when you get a PE teacher who doesn't follow the protocols, i.e., you're supposed to, if you miss the lines, you're supposed to be given a warning, and then if you miss it again, you're out. But how many PE teachers go, don't worry about you, come on, make the next one. Well, it makes the test not accurate. So accuracy means we're getting the correct results, and we can ensure accuracy by going into a lab generally where everything can be controlled. But in the field, if we've got correct supervision, people who are following the correct protocols, that we're using calibrated and expensive, I suppose, equipment rather than cheap equipment. Slightly different to reliable. Reliable is if you can replicate the test in conditions that are going to give you similar results. So can we control things enough that we're going to get results that can be repeated? So I'll give you an example. We do fitness testing we did do fitness testing every year. Last year, when we did the 12-minute run, it was 18 degrees. Beautiful day. Kids did really well. Following year, it was 40 degrees when we did the 12-minute run. And guess what? Our results were not very good. Now, there's no point scratching your head going, oh my God, these kids, their fitness, it's really deteriorated in the year. No, that test is not reliable because clearly the conditions are so different that you're not getting the same results. So in order to try and make sure that tests are reliable, we need to be able to control a few things. And here are some examples of things that you can control. or that you might try and control. Same time of day. Try and do the same warm-up. If you're doing a battery of tests, do them in the same order. Make sure that the person or the people have the same nutritional status, that they're wearing the same types of footwear. There's another one. You know what? Do the SEMO agility test or the Illinois agility test. And one year I forgot to bring my gear. So I had to do it in my uniform. And so I did the Illinois agility test in school shoes. And guess what? I didn't do as well. Well, I wonder why. Because I was sliding around everywhere. Or maybe last year you did it and the grass was wet. This year you did it and the grass was dry, and your results are so much better. So try and keep all of these variables as similar as you possibly can. By the way, can a test, here's a question. Oops. Can a test be inaccurate but still reliable? Can a test be inaccurate but still reliable? Yes or no? Yep, Cuba reckons yes. Marcus reckons yes. Tash is saying I'm guessing yes. You're absolutely correct. Right? That test, that aerobic power test for the multi-stage fitness test, it was totally inaccurate because the kids were only going 18.6 meters. But guess what? Each year, they were only going 18.6 meters, so we're getting fairly similar results. 4 considerations the coach could consider when trying to make these tests reliable. So have a read of that top one. So that should be for 4 marks. So we are looking for 4 things that you should be able to do to make those tests reliable. Now, I would say this is a lower order question. You've just seen the answers to this. So I'm going to give you 2.5 minutes to get this in. Okay, let's go through the answers. Now, I haven't outlined, right? So I wouldn't have got my marks. And on any given year, VCO might give me absolutely 0 because I've just listed. So that's why I've got here. It must be outlined. It must be in a sentence. So there's some examples of what you could have said. It's very unusual that Paul was the one making the mistake here. Maybe you wrote this question. I don't know. It's generally Mike that makes the mistakes when I write them. So Paul, the idiot PE teacher, hasn't followed the correct protocols, hasn't followed the rules, whereas Mike did for the post-testing. Now, Mike is understandably disgusted and says the tests are not valid, accurate, or reliable. They're the 3 things we've just gone through. Valid, accurate, reliable, because of this oversight. Is he correct? Now, 4 marks. We need to hit validity, accuracy, and reliability. 1, 2, 3. We also need to make a judgment for the 4th mark. Is Mike correct? Is Mike incorrect? Is Mike somewhat correct? Don't know. But that's where the 4 marks are going to come. There's no doubt that the multi-stage fitness test is a valid test for aerobic power. Paul didn't follow the correct testing protocol. When I say protocol, I mean the instructions for the test. He didn't follow them. He didn't eliminate the participants as he was supposed to. And so the test is not accurate, can't hope to be accurate. And then the last one is that the pre-test and the post-test are done in different conditions, because one of those, the pre-test was done correctly, the post-test was done completely differently. And so the results can't possibly be reliable. So Mike is somewhat correct. Right? He's correct in that the results are not accurate and they're not reliable, but he's incorrect in saying that they're not valid.